Hello, everybody. I'm Jillian Sakovitz. A very warm welcome to Full-Time Review. Coming up on today's show, Tamara and Meg caught up with Canadian national team coach Casey Stoney to talk about what she wants to see from her players against the U.S. women's national team this week and reflect on her previous meetings against Emma Hayes in the English Women's Super League. Let's get into it.
All right, we are so pumped to be joined by the head coach of Canada's women's national team, Casey Stoney, a return actually to the pod. It feels like it's been way too long, and so much, of course, has happened since our last conversation. Casey, thank you so much for joining us. And how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me on again. It has been a while.
Casey, where in the world are you? Like, what is your... No, obviously you got the Canada job. You're in camp right now, but like, are you moving to Canada? What's your life situation right at the moment?
My life situation is I currently still live in San Diego.
Okay.
It was a conscious decision made when I took the job, and obviously I spoke to Kevin about not moving, and it's for my children. Like, they went through a lot of turmoil last year, so be able to keep them in the same school, in the same home, and keep some consistency was really important to us as a family.
That makes a lot of sense. Consistency is so grounding, and especially for kids. So we're glad to know that you are grounded and that your family is hopefully happy. Let's pivot to the football. How have the first few days of camp been with the team? And are there any sort of like fun stories you can share about getting the gang back together with Canada?
Yeah, I think obviously it's been great to be here in Toronto. Not so great, we're going through the middle of a heat wave, so we've been training in 34 degrees, so that's been challenging. The last set of the last training on Sunday looked a little bit more like walking football than actual football, but they trained hard, they trained well. We only got the full group together yesterday, so it's great to have them all in, back from games, obviously NWSL games. Europeans came in early because it was really important to get them going ahead of time, so it's been great. You know, Toronto's a fantastic city to be around. Not keen on the traffic, but that's part of it. you take the highs and the lows, but no, it's been great to be back. It's not been long since our last camp, so we've had a lot to do in a short space of time. We also know that from now on in playing Costa Rica, and obviously the US and the rest of the fixtures we've got planned for the rest of the year, that the opposition is going to get tougher, which is where we want to be. We want to be competing against the best in the world.
Yeah, not to overlook Costa Rica, but obviously I think everybody around here is just like awaiting this Canada-USA game. It's also the first like top-ranked opponent that you've played with this team. So what are you hoping to get out of this game? Like, what, is the result secondary? Is it really just like getting this test? Like, what's the vibe around this game this far out from it?
Well, I know from experience and from being in with the team that when Canada plays the US, the result is never secondary. It's important. For me as a head coach, the performance is important. It will show us where we are, what work we have to do, and it could just give us a barometer of the work we've done so far and if stuff is starting to embed into the players in terms of principles and style of play. So, but more importantly, like, we want to have a go. We want to be a team that, can compete against the best in the world and has been in the past. It's just about now doing it on the world stage as well as Olympic platforms. So I think it's a really exciting opportunity for us to compete, to play, obviously, in Washington in front of a good crowd. It should be a really good experience for the team.
And of course, the additional layer to this game is happening not on the pitch, but right on the sidelines between you and Emma Hayes. You two have met 5 times at the club level in the WSL, but this will be your first time meeting internationally. So what can you share with us about any sort of conversations you may have had with her? But generally, I'm curious what it's like going against her as a coach and how you think that WSL experience might translate to the international stage for both of you.
Yeah, I've known of Emma for a very long time. I played against her teams too, when I was at Arsenal and managed to get the upper hand quite a lot there. Not so much in when we were building Man United, but we had really close encounters considering we were like first year, second year team. We only lost by a goal here and there. So, it was tight. It was always competitive. I have a huge amount of respect for what Emma has done within the game. I think obviously I was the Chelsea manager, previously before Emma came in, and what she was able to do to get the infrastructure, the finances, the budget, pretty much 211s she could put out of world-class players. You have to really respect that, and obviously the trophies in the cabinet speak to her success. So, and then she goes to America and wins the Olympics. So, you have to really respect that too in such a short space of time. So I think she's been a great advocate for female coaches in the game, and putting female coaches on the map. And I'm really looking forward to just us competing against them. I know Emma, we're not close. We don't have many conversations. But I do genuinely really respect for everything she's done for the game and for women's coaches.
Yeah, I mean, also just, I think even from our viewpoint, watching this game, right, I think it's going to be so fun and honestly so cool to watch the two of you coach against each other. Obviously, like, there is this reputation thing, and I feel like both of you talk in these really big picture terms too. Like, obviously, yes, there is the role of managing a team and all of the specifics that come with that. But when I have always talked to the two of you, I think there is this bigger picture thing of how do we get more women coaches into the game? How do we think about coaching women's soccer in a way maybe that feels a little bit different from the men's? And so there is, I think, maybe something a little bit special about this game, even if you aren't close, where you're pulling in the same direction. Are you trying to like just kind of set that aside and be like, listen, I have a game to play here?
Yeah, I think it is just about the game to play. I think obviously I'm a huge advocate of women in the game, but also like the bigger picture of like, I've got two little girls, and I have a responsibility to grow the game from the top down and make sure that it's accessible to everybody, to make sure that, young girls grow up dreaming to be professional athletes. Now, I never had that when I was growing up. There was no professionalism. I had to work pretty much my entire career. Now that's a real vision. And not just that, there's so many jobs in the game now for females, not just coaching. And I think that for me is really, really important. And I think if you can have success, it just shows, what the Lionesses did in 2022 and the change that's made to the game in England, and also the amount of little girls that now want to take up the game. I have a responsibility to do that here in Canada. I have a responsibility to make sure that we have success on the field, that it transfers into schools, into little girls, into parents, into clubs, and to make sure that we have, a bigger pool to pick from eventually, but to inspire the next generation.
Casey, something I think about a lot is what feels like a really delicate balance between creating more opportunities and showing how massive and profitable women's football can be and how popular, with the fact that once you show that, the opportunities come, and then you have to manage workload because, FIFA is always going to want to pump our world with tournaments and games and more ways for them to make money. But that is something that players and managers, of course, have to deal with. So I'm curious how you've been managing players' workloads right now, especially with Canada, where so many of these players are not playing in Canada and travel is inevitable, long distances, for them to meet for camps and for friendlies like this. So where's your mind at right now when you think about player workload in this moment?
Very intentional about what we do. Obviously, I'm very aware Emma's left pretty much all of her Europeans apart from Naomi, out of her squad. We don't have that luxury. We don't have that pool of players where we can do that. But what we can do is be intentional about how we manage load when they're in camp. So making sure that, when they do come in, we monitor loads, we modify them where necessary. We don't play players 90 minutes, which I think we've been really intentional about since I've been in. We've really managed those moments. And obviously then looking at like, when do they get the time off? How are we liaising with clubs? When can we make sure they still get a protected period where they can rest? And it's not just physical, it's mental as well. I think obviously the American players don't have as many tournaments throughout the summer like the Europeans do. Right. So it's not as much of a balancing act for us as it would be for the European head coaches, where they have Olympics, Euros, World Cups. Like, we don't have that we don't have the Euro block to it. So in the summers where we can, we will give players rest. Next summer, I think there's an even bigger break between the June window and the next window. So I think that's where we can really make sure that we're getting players necessary rest, and obviously working with the NWSL so they don't put the CBA break right in the middle of an international window. So players that actually need it can access rest.
Yeah, scheduling is always super fun, as we all know and have just kind of lived through over the past few years. I do want to ask you one quick question because you have a little bit of a reputation for sideline fashion. I'm wondering how you're approaching this game in DC, because you are known for the sideline blazer, but also you want to talk about heat wave. DC in summer, as having lived there for many years through a summer, it's a little swampy. How are you, do you have a plan for the fashion at this game?
Maybe a linen. Yeah. I can see a linen working.
Linen, very lightweight.
I don't have a plan, but I'm going to have plan A and B, I think. I did have a new blazer for it, which I was actually quite looking forward to. And then I saw the temperatures and I was like, oh, maybe not. So,
oh, no.
Yeah, I've got a couple of options. I don't know why I'm known for fashion. Like, my teammates used to say I was the worst dressed. So, I don't know. But yeah, I've got some ideas. So
you got to own it, Casey. You got to own it. Just, like send them links now and just be like, listen, now I get,
because I don't wear
now I get praise.
So, yeah. I wouldn't call myself fashionable, but yeah, I do like to make an effort. It was a conscious decision when I became a head coach, because I went very closely from playing into head coaching. I also brought quite a few of the players I'd played with into my environment, so I wanted match day for them to see me different. Like, I wasn't a teammate anymore. I was your head coach. I wanted to be different on the sideline. So it was a conscious decision. I don't know if I'm fashionable or not, but yeah, I try my best. That's all I can do.
Well, if nothing else, the blazer is a symbol. And I really appreciate you sharing that background, because it totally makes sense. Style is a way to distinguish yourself. So it's understandable. But we will be seated and waiting to see what you land on for that game.
I'll be ranked on my attire, I'm sure.
I mean, it won't be from us officially, but we will be paying attention.
Great stuff from Tamara, Meg, and Casey. Thank you to all three of you for getting us set for the U.S. Women's National Team game against Canada. And finally, in case you didn't know, The Athletic has partnered with Yahoo Sports to provide free best-in-class coverage of women's sports. That's right, go check out the Women's Sports Hub at sports.yahoo.com. We'll see you during the week. Take care.